大怪盗アルセーヌ・ルパンが残した不思議な宝物ルパンコレクションがギャングラーに奪われた。失ったものを取り戻すために戦う怪盗、世界の平和を守るために戦う警察、君はどっちを応援する？
Hello and welcome to LupinRecap vs. PatReview, the podcast that's stirring up a storm. I'm your host, Lokamasi, and with me is my lovely co-host, Fefner Masamune.
Actually, hold up a sec. If we know there's an Arsene Lupin and a Lupin the Third, does that mean that Noel is Lupin the Second?
Hi, Lupin the Third. I'm legally your dad. This has nothing to do with me being the adopted son of your grandfather. Just with all these backflips, I now legally am your father. I've owned you so hard.
Noel could just become anyone's dad if he just backflips close to them enough.
I'm trying to remember the exact Tumblr post of I've owed you so hard, I'm now legally your father. I'm not happy about this. In fact, I'm very disappointed, you son. And that's right, we are a Lupin Ranger vs. Pat Ranger recap and review podcast. And today we are covering episode 46. So, y'all, this is another clip show. And I was going to do a joke where I just spliced in the audio from the last clip show we did for the pre-show discussion. But one, we don't want to waste your time like that. That's only funny in theory and not really funny in practice. And two, I lost the audio for that episode, so I can't actually do that joke anymore. So anyways, we are just going to skip right to the actual summary.
We respect your time. We could just, use one of those YouTube downloading websites to download the episode if we really wanted to. But hey,
and that would violate
nice.
YouTube's terms of service. And that's definitely the reason we're not doing this.
We respect YouTube.
We respect YouTube exactly as much as it respects us.
Oh, I need another video website.
So anyways, episode 46.
Yes, episode 46, The Inescapable Game. Perhaps the whole situation is the game and it's inescapable. Have you ever thought about that?
Whoa.
Surprise, I was Banksy. So, with Christmas done, it's time to move on to New Year's. Good Striker is flying about a shrine, and he meets up with Noel, who's there with a juror trio. It's Noel's first time at a Japanese shrine for the holiday, so he's pretty excited. He's also excited to see Umika in a kimono, which is a costume that probably cost the episode's entire budgets. I mean, it's not like they needed the budget anyway.
There are other things they probably spent budget money on. We'll see him here in a bit.
Noel pushes Tuma aside and compliments Umika on her kimono. I just love Tuma's "what the fuck, man" reaction.
Yeah, it's like they didn't tell Yokohama he was gonna get shoved out of the way.
Dude,
what?
Are we gonna do a retake? Was that supposed to happen?
I don't want to go straight to everything being improv because you can script something like that, but it's just the idea that Sayabatoki just did that is kind of funny to me.
Yeah, I'll also have an improv joke later, so I guess we'll get to that. Before the group can move on to the festivities proper, though, we hear some screaming, and you know what that means. This time around, a group of Podamen are following a red safe-headed Podaman. He says he's turning over a new leaf, because he's gonna rule over the Ganglars, and to drive his point home, he does a cool pose. It's definitely cool, it's not lame at all. The Phantom Thieves, rude teens they are, shoot him during the pose. Cowards. Although undisguised, the Juror Trio attempt to Kaito change, only for Safety Dance to activate his safe power. Goody tries to intervene, but it's too late. In a flash of light, the Juror Trio find themselves somewhere else. In tracksuits. Safety Dance comes in, mic in hand, and welcomes the group to a game. Goody and Noel realize that this Podaman must be using Caught in the Game, or Attrape dans le jeu, in case he wanted the French, a collection piece that Arsene Lupin used when he was younger. It's supposed to be the first perfect collection piece for a fun party.
Even though we've established humans can't use the collection.
It's the only one he could use. It inspired him to steal the rest of the collection. I don't know how this works.
It's just a throwaway line. It doesn't mean anything, but it's still just how did that get past everyone?
Well, you see, normally Arsene Lupin didn't make dial fighters, but, for a while he had successfully turned that one into a dial fighter, but unfortunately was turned back. Degranio just couldn't let humans have fun.
Not allowed.
However, Safety Dance says that if they don't complete 5 challenges, they'll be stuck in there forever. So, less fun than Lupin's use of it, I guess. Goody says that if they take the collection piece, this space will disappear. Naturally, Kyrie attempts to circumvent the whole episode by charging Safety Dance, but it turns out his form here is just an illusion. So, since they can't swipe the piece, the game is on. Roll the intro. We return to the scene of important plot happening during filler episodes, usually known as the Pat Ranger HQ. Kaitro summoned everyone else in order to explain his findings. He has Jim bring up an image of the Juro Trio's loved ones, 3 people still unaccounted for after 2 years. Yano Shuri, Kairi's brother, Uhira Aya, Tuma's fiancée, and Ichino's Shiho, Umika's friend. Sakia calls it a coincidence, but Kaitro doesn't believe that's the case. He brings up what Noel said about how the Lupin collection could bring back their loved ones, and Kaitro has reason to believe that the Lupins have the same objective. He's certain now that the Phantom Thieves are the Juro Trio. But enough about that, back to fun times. The first challenge, pulled from a red box, is to get last with an impersonation. Kyrie volunteers to do an impression of Tuma and immediately does aerobics. Everybody.
The music starts up, everyone's doing the dance too.
Yeah, everybody does a little jog, except Tuma, who stands stock still.
We should say including the Ganglar.
Yeah. Kyrie suddenly feels an aura of pure rage coming from Tuma. Just blue winds howling through the room. One of them will soon perish.
Yeah.
Tuma approaches Kyrie to just beat the shit out of him, his eyes glowing. And Kyrie is so terrified that he just wimps out and does a lackluster impersonation of the Lupin Blue intro. Lupin Blue. Safety Dance is not impressed, so he drops a gold washbin on Kyrie's head. It's that old gag that I do not know the origin of.
I'm sure it has a reference to something, but it just seems like really painful.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that joke before, and various other, very Japanese media.
It's like a pie to the face, but meaner.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to leave a mark of this, impact that's sort of funny and goofy. I just want to leave a red welt on your skull because I hate you and I want you in pain.
Noel then decides to step in and do an impression of Kaichiro. It works, and Safety Dance has a good chuckle about it. But Noel talks about how good the Pat Rangers are as people, and we get a montage of them doing stuff.
You can't fool me, Noel. ACAB.
Back at Police HQ, Kaichiro explains that on his trip, Kairi had tagged along, but later Lupin Red was there as well. Umika also appeared in the dream world, though Sakia argues that she could have been an Umika from his dreams. Little did he know, there wasn't a specific Umika in his dreams.
His dream was the picture book, though, right?
I don't know, maybe he thought he'd dreamed up Umika. It's possible.
This part is so weird. I don't know if Sakia is lying or what is happening.
I mean, he probably just assumes that if Umika was in a dreamscape, that was probably his fault.
I guess.
Tsukasa happens to look over some documents and sees an image of Umika as a child along with Shiho. But, of course, she recognizes the child as Fumiko, the fake name that Umika had given her and the other officers when she was turned into a child. Kaicho realizes that the gangler they'd been fighting that day did have the ability to turn people into children, and the cops put two and two together. Which means the child that Tsukasa had doted over that day was none other than Kairi. Tsukasa dies on the spot.
I'm glad they didn't do that joke during that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Kairi does react, but it's more in just he's uncomfortable too situation. Yeah. And now, several episodes later, Tsukasa's just, oh god, oh no.
So, I would like to also point out that when they ask Jim to get some water, he just fucking turns around and falls over. And I hope that was just a mistake that happened that they decided to leave in because it is funny. Yeah. Though also, I love Hilltop pointing to him at the end of the scene.
Like, no, we're all falling. Everyone's falling down. We're having so many problems right now. But yeah, these scenes are the most like satisfying thing in this entire show.
Mm-hmm. Just utter panic.
Oh, I meant the Power Rangers figuring things out.
Oh yeah, that too. But the panic's also good.
Later. Yeah.
Back at the game, the Juro Trio's next challenge is to bring up something that they had found painful. Tuma brings up the Kogure incident, but that's not a good answer. A washbin is dropped on Tuma, who does not even flinch.
You've only made me angrier.
I don't get concussions, I just get mad. The group needs to tell Safety Dance about something actually painful, not just inconvenient. Or, as he puts it, stupid. That wasn't painful, that was just stupid and dumb.
I really appreciate that difference. Like, I know you use the word painful to describe both of these things, but that's not the pain I'm talking about. That's just dumb.
So, Umika mentions the Magnum trial, and, given Kairi had to shoot his dream brother, and the other two had to attempt to shoot their dream loved ones but failed, that probably counts.
The other three, we don't have footage of it, but Noel did put his gun to Arsene Lupin's head.
Yep.
And could not pull the trigger.
This is probably about the point you'll be thinking of it if it's your first time watching through the show. Because just, oh right, Noel was also, oh. They also sneak in some scenes of Victory and Siren Strikers as well. And then, the most painful part of all, Destra, who is very strong, but also managed to nab the aforementioned Strikers, which is, probably why they were mentioned here specifically in the first place. This is the correct answer, because Safety Dance knows how much of a badass Destra was, so that was a painful encounter.
I really like this. Oh man, you guys fought Destra? He's the baddest gangler around.
I have all his merch. I kinda hate you for killing him, but dang, mad respect.
I wish he just pulled out, something signed by Destra.
His t-shirt.
I have a replica of his hammer, signed and everything. But instead of it being signed from Destra, it just says, fuck off.
Yep. Please go away.
I'm only writing this, so you will go away, Destra.
Back in Hell, Degranio mentions that it's been a year since he's announced his Succession game. He asks Zamigo if he still doesn't have any intention of entering the game. Zamigo interrupts him to tell him that he's right. Hey, you don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Oh, thanks.
No thanks, I was wondering about that. Also, it's been a year since I've initiated my plan to name my successor. Since then, 90% of my organization has fucking died.
They're all dead, God. I've realized that most ganglars are actually pretty useless.
I'm going to name a successor, but what they're succeeding, I have no idea anymore.
Successor? They really haven't. Zamigo's own plans are far more interesting than just sitting in some fancy chair. He then takes his human form for some reason, I guess just to be an ass, and says that you'd have to be crazy to want to be in that position before leaving. Back in the game, challenge number 3 is to display a hidden talent. Safety Dance summons some props to use, but Noel is certain that he doesn't need props. He gets up on stage and gives him some sweet backflips. Everybody is impressed, except for Safety Dance. Everybody knows that Noel can do sweet flips. That's how he fights. It's not a hidden talent. I would like to point out that I called this scene.
You called, like, all the jokes in this episode, I think. Because you also called Toma going to murder Kyrie.
If anything, I'd underestimated that one.
This was my favorite joke in this whole episode. It's probably
so
one of my
good.
favorite jokes in the show. Because it's like, they don't really draw attention to it. Like, it's funny to us, but they don't draw attention to it the way that a lot of Japanese media draws attention to its jokes.
Yeah, except right here.
Yeah, I'm thinking like the backflip in episode 26, which just comes out of nowhere. Like, that's funny, but I didn't think it was really a joke until this point where they're like, you're always doing backflips.
Noel, not a day in your life has gone by where you haven't done a backflip. You backflip out of bed, my dude. Thankfully, Umika has a plan, and it's cross-dressing. Thankfully, the callback to Pitchcock's episode actually works well, because Kyrie, Tuma, and Noel just own it instead of the concept being a joke for the whole episode. I mean, there is a joke, but it's Goody with a ribbon on, but, like, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not super funny, but it's not mean.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
Goody
just,
with the ribbon is
hey,
just
the
kind of
weird
cute.
mascot is also joining in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he never wears clothes.
And like I've mentioned, some of the photos of this were like put on Instagram by the cast members.
Mm-hmm.
Just them like goofing off. They're doing duck phases and posing and everything. The cast clearly enjoys cross-dressing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Power Ranger actors did too, but they weren't allowed to show it.
Yeah.
I think my immediate comment after the scene was, I can't believe the show itself has a redemption arc.
Yeah. It's just, hey, you know, when you play it straight, it actually goes over really well. It's just a short scene where the characters are like, yeah, I'm fine with this.
Sure, see where everyone's cross-dressing and everyone's super into it.
Though, as you mentioned, a bit of a shame that Umika's only directing.
She could have put on a suit. She could have been a fashion director in a suit.
Yeah, that would have been great, actually. I guess all the Umika budget just went to the kimono, though.
Yeah, I guess.
You get one fancy costume per episode, no more. Anyway, they beat the challenge. Back at HQ, Tsukasa is conscious again. And while she was out, she had some realizations. When she was trapped in the amusement park with Umika, Lupin Yellow just happened to be there. There was also the time where she saw Kyrie at the nightclub. And of course, Tuma knows how to handle a gun really well. I do love how, even though Kaitro has the revelation, Tsukasa still manages to one-up him in being a detective by having 3 examples instead of 2.
3 examples which she literally came up with in her sleep.
Yeah. As always, Tsukasa is the most effective detective.
Yeah, I do appreciate that just like they've been dropping hints like this since episode 8, where they first cleared the jury trio. Mm-hmm. And like everyone thought that like, oh, the Power Rangers just aren't paying attention anymore. No, they're keeping track. They know something's up. Eventually.
Yeah, you know, the police just believed that initial evidence. And they like the juror trio and want to remain friends, so they don't immediately suspect them of these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're actually good people, even though they're cops. Weird. Anyway, sure, assuming the Juror trio are the Phantom Thieves, all these instances would make a lot of sense. Kaitro asks Sakia if anything comes to mind, but Sakia swears he can't think of anything. He ain't a narc.
Despite being a cop.
Sakia also brings up that they had credible evidence that the Juror trio weren't the Phantom Thieves at one point, but Tsukasa thinks they may have had some sort of gimmick that they used to give themselves alibis. Which, they do. It's mostly Kogure, though at one point, also 2 extra Kairis. Sakia still argues that the Juror trio couldn't be the Phantom Thieves. He trusts Umika, and I guess the rest of them, and brings up Kaitro's relationship with Kairi. But Kaitro calls it a separate matter. We then move back to the game, where challenge number 4 is about to begin. The group must show their most prized possessions, and what else could that be other than the pieces of the Lupin collection they have on them, which they lay out on a table. All of them. This completes the challenge, because what could be more valuable than the Lupin collection? Surprising nobody but the Lupin Rangers, though. This was all a trick. Safety Dance tells them that he's going to steal their treasure, and with a pose, he and the table both disappear with an eternal adieu. The Lupins are left alone in the room to contemplate their poor life choices. This would have been a perfect moment to montage scenes of the Lupin Rangers fucking up, but they didn't do that. Aw, man, we really screwed the pooch on this one, guys. Remember when stuff like this happened before?
Just a montage of Kairi getting up.
Specifically Kairi, none of the others.
The camera usually focuses on him when the team gets wrecked. They just play the clip of Lyman throwing him into a car that explodes like 3 times. But not consecutively.
Him falling down the stairs.
Uh-huh.
Him falling over from exhaustion in the most extra way possible.
It's like, okay, why is it all me? Why are we all talking about me?
I can remember scenes of Kairi getting owned so well. For some reason.
It's funnier because it's Kairi.
At the shrine, the Potomen celebrate their victory. Safety Dance brags that his power allows him to pose to bring things in and out of game space. Luckily, being one of the collection pieces himself, Goody was on the table all along. So he attacks Safety Dance by ramming into his butt, launching him into the air, and forces him into a pose, which brings the Phantom Thieves back into reality. They quickly nab their treasures and start fighting. Although Noelle's usual piece gets tossed away, Umika tosses over Cyclone. Noelle enters Safety Dance's combination, 3, 1, 3, and retrieves the collection piece. Tuma tosses the train over and Kairi launches Siren, and then Noelle transforms into Super Lupin X and uses the Super Superior Strike to blow Safety Dance to smithereens. There's no Gauchier to help this time, so his game's over. The battle done, Kairi takes a trip dans le jeu, but lets Noelle keep Cyclone. He figures that Noelle might need both that and his buckle if he ever happens to run into another status gold. Noelle thanks him for Chaco's Dial Fighter, and the group gets to praying at the shrine. Umika hopes for their wishes to come true this year, and so we cut to a scene of that definitely not happening. At sunset, Hilltop gives the tactical unit permission to investigate the Juror trio. But Saki is not ready to assume their guilt yet, and begs Hilltop to let him investigate Umika and the others. For now, we don't get a response, only a zoom in on Kaiichiro's face. Back in Hell, though, we see Gauche ready for another experiment, or crime against Ganglar rights. Zamigo enters her operating room, and she notes that it's rare that he even speaks to her. Zamigo tells her that he has a job for her, and that she can name her price. And on that ominous note, the episode ends.
Quite an episode, huh?
Yeah, again, not a bad clip show episode.
Yeah.
But also, Ganglar time. Fucking Red Potaman with a safe head. He was goofy. I liked him.
So, back during the last Clip Show episode, we also had a Ganglar with a safe on his head.
Yep.
And I asked if you were ready for this guy to make a comeback, and you said you didn't think he was going to make a comeback.
I mean, we don't
Well,
know.
guess who was
Ganglar.
wrong? I know it's not
This
the
one's
same
right.
literal Ganglar, but it's the same idea of safe head.
He's the upgraded mini-boss. He's like a fucking Zelda enemy. He's a different color now. He's got more health.
I will say for a
And this one
Ganglar that talks so much, he doesn't have much of a personality besides game show host.
He does lament that as he dies.
That's the thing about game show hosts. Like, they're fine enough when they're on screen, but very rarely will they leave an impression on you.
But yeah, he likes poses,
He
He's
likes
peppy.
posing like Sailor Moon.
and I
He
guess
likes
that's
game
it.
shows. Yeah,
He is-
surprisingly enough, the Ganglar during the Clip Show episode was not very engaging.
I mean, I'd still take him over, like, Toxic Seahorse, or... Well, no, I like Toxic Seahorse, even though he's more serious. I'd take him over fucking whatever Ganglar I've forgotten about. One that came
The
before
toothbrush
this...
one.
Yeah, that guy. Just anyone before the really long chain of, like, good, goofy Ganglars.
Tokagale is the best Ganglar. But yeah, as for the episode itself, I really like the Power Ranger scenes.
Yep. I think
I
it makes sense
appreciate-
that... Go on.
And I appreciate when characters that are supposed to solve a crime manage to solve a crime on their own.
Yeah, imagine that. They figured it out. Good job, guys. But yeah, it does sort of make sense that these last two episodes have been filler episodes, because, like, the Pat Rangers figuring things out, you know, it's very, very important, but it's put in B-slot time. That doesn't diminish its importance, it just means it's not the focus of the episode. It is still really critical, though, and it's kind of nice that they have this big, heavy moment sort of spread out between two episodes. Because, as an A-plot, it might be a little bit boring to just, you know, have scene after scene of the Pat Rangers in their office doing work. But, like, just because of the way it's framed, where it is the B-plot, it's like, okay, we're just cutting into scenes of them making more progress in their investigation. Like, it's a B-plot because it doesn't really need twists and turns. It's
Right.
just a straight line of them solving the mystery.
It's also weird because, like, I'm going to remember this episode as the game show episode, and the previous episode as the Christmas episode. So, like, despite arguably being more important to the overall plot, the Power Rangers stuff is really clearly the secondary stuff.
But of course, I'm sure it's going to be more prominent in the next episode.
In every episode going forward.
Yeah.
I
So
don't think
now
they
that
have
it's-
time for filler episodes anymore.
Yeah, so now that the mystery is solved, that can come to a head and be the main sort of focus. Because its impact is pretty important. Its impact is important, it can have a lot of different effects on the characters and the plots. But since they were pretty much left to their own devices to solve the mystery, they weren't interrupted by Ganglars or whatever, you know, that was kind of just a foregone conclusion, pretty much. Like, if not from the start of the previous episode, then definitely at the point at which Kaiichiro saw Kairi's brother as one of the disappeared persons.
Once they started figuring things out and there was no good striker, no Noel there to alert the Lupin Rangers. Hey, they're on to you.
Yeah. No one can fuck up this investigation.
It's weird to think that, like, they could have reached this point a lot earlier if Good Striker did not tell Kairi, hey, you're being investigated. Chill. Act natural.
It's like Mega Man Zero, where, like, if you fail one particular mission, you just immediately get a different mission that's basically endgame.
No, yeah. I like the route that they're going with this, but it would have been a completely different show if everything had come to a head a lot sooner.
Yeah, like I mentioned all the way back then, we probably would have lost Jur as a main location, which, at the time I had figured wouldn't have happened because why would you ditch your set piece so early on? You went to the trouble of making it. While the surprise would be nice, I don't think they would do something like that.
So, because this is a filler episode, there's not a whole lot to talk about.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, but we've pretty much exhausted the topics. But to be fair, that's also a good thing because episode 47's staring at me right now.
Yeah, we're at that point where next episode might start with, okay, so we watched the entire rest of the series.
Alas, I don't have that sort of time tonight, but...
You know what's really going to suck? Like, we're joking about it now, but when we do episode 49 and then watch episode 50...
Oh, man.
Episode 51 is going to be fucking staring at us, laughing.
I'm half tempted to say we might choose a day to, marathon them or something, and then just, do a weird last episode or... I don't know. I guess I'll have to decide at the point where shit starts going down. I mean, to be fair, I can actually distract myself from wanting to see a thing. For example, I have not yet watched the last episode of Dragon Ball Super, even though it's been there since Monday. Kind of forgot to watch it today because it's been a long week. But I can wait for that, even if it's got a really cool premise.
But yeah, I think that does it for this episode. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at LRVSPR, Fefner's Fefner Masamune. If you want to email us, you can email us at LupinRecap, PatReview@gmail.com, and we will see you in the next episode. Adieu.
Adieu.